Hey everyone, Tyler here at the Movie Beat Back. Happy to be sharing with you some thoughts on a brand new Korean film that I just got back from seeing at the movie theater here in Korea. It's called New Year Blues. I think this one was originally set to come out towards the end of 2020, and it would have been just perfect timing because this one literally is a countdown from Christmas Day, 12/25, until January 1st, New Year. So it's a big New Year's movie. But I think it did get pushed back because of, COVID and everything. But luckily, we are just entering the Lunar New Year holiday here in Korea. So boom, another perfect timing, although the dates are kind of weird. So this one was directed by Hong Ji-young, who brought us some other films like Will You Be There? And most interestingly, maybe not the best film, but most interestingly in comparison to this one, another film called Marriage Blue. This one called New Year's Blue, that one Marriage Blue. I guess if you were to translate the Korean titles for both, it is Ba 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 The Night Before. So that one, The Night Before Marriage, this one, The Night Before New Year's. And both of them feature four different couples, struggling through a relationship or their feelings about life and love and commitment and happiness. So kind of a similarity there. I haven't seen Marriage Blue, but when I looked at that, I was like, that's interesting. So I don't know if she's building on a bigger thematic type thing here. Maybe the next one is The Night Before Thanksgiving Blues. I don't know. So just speculation there. So let's get into this one a little bit more. Like I said, if Love Actually is your type of thing, I think you're really going to dig a movie like this. I, for one, don't necessarily lean towards that, but surprisingly, I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit. Very watchable, and I was never bored. So this is definitely one of those movies. I think they were aiming for more of a family or a broader appeal, one that they can just play every New Year's on TV, kind of have it playing. Looks really good. So I think even being called New Year Blues is a little bit strange because it was very lighthearted, I think, overall. There are some moments of that lonely lovers type internal processing that I think you might be able to relate it to something like Il Mare, which is one of the reasons I wanted to post that review of that film. You can check that out in my channel, Il Mare with Jun Ji-hyun. It's kind of really one of the best movies that bring up those feelings, in my opinion. But this one obviously done in a totally different way. Multi-narrative, four different couples, all very different and way more lighthearted. So I want to tell you a little bit about these four different couples and then give you some further thoughts on what I thought of this movie overall. The first one is between a man named Ji-ho, played by Kim Kang-woo, who is working for the police. I think he was like a former police detective who's been relegated to a lesser role, but he's been divorced for several years, and he's just been single, not really living a glamorous or interesting life. He seems pretty down, very gloomy, dark home, all that. And for his next relationship, he is very keen on meeting a woman very naturally, or whoever he's going to meet. He wants it to just happen spontaneous. So he doesn't want to use any type of agency or any type of arrangement. That's his thing. So of course that happens one day when a woman named Hyo-young, played by Yoo In-na, walks in to the police and wants some personal protection service because she is going through a very scary divorce with a man who may harm her. So she is definitely fearful and needs some protection. So the interesting thing with this relationship is that this physical therapist, she's kind of like a rehabilitation therapist. She works at a very high-end athletic center. And Ji-ho, the policeman, he's not very athletic, I would say. And so they kind of have some fun back and forth. She's very artistic as well. And so they kind of make some things. And that's where their relationship grows. Also, we've got that freaky husband guy you got to protect from. So I guess that's the interesting part of that relationship. The second one was really interesting as far as location goes. It takes place in Buenos Aires, Argentina, shot on location there. So really beautiful. It's between a man named Jae-hun, played by Yoo Yeon-seok, who really did the Korean program, like what they tell you to do. Study really hard, go to a great university, get a great job, work your ass off, and be successful. And then, then it's marriage and have a kid and blah, blah, and rinse and repeat. So he sort of did that route, and it worked from 9 a.m. to midnight and just burned out. And he was like, what am I doing? Had a moment of realization and fled Korea, just wanted to get out, moves to Buenos Aires. Well, he just really found his calling as a wine delivery man, and he's really living a laid-back lifestyle, totally chill, away from everything Korean. That's his goal. When one day he bumps into, of course, a Korean woman named Gina, played by Yeon-hee, who came to Argentina on a whim after her boyfriend dumped her. So she's her mind's a little bit broken right now, and she wants to get out as well. And so they have their thing there. I guess the most interesting part of their relationship is the sights that they go seeing. It's Buenos Aires, so they get some dance, some music, some sights, some sounds. It's very cool to see Korean actors in a location like this, I gotta say. I would love to see a full-length feature film of Korean actors, a Korean story in a place like Argentina, in a place like Buenos Aires. It looked really cool. So that's their relationship thing here. The third relationship is between the head of a travel agency, his own travel agency. His name is Yong-chan, played by Dong-hwi, and his older sister, very protective older sister named Yeom-hee, played by Yeom Hye-ran. And Yong-chan is getting ready for an international marriage between himself and a very, very wealthy, it seems, Chinese woman named Lin Lin, and coming to Korea for, it seems like the first time. And so she's going to meet his sister, and she, of course, doesn't speak any Korean. And Yong-chan and her, they have to communicate all in Chinese. His Chinese is really good. And so there's some fun moments there with the language and whatnot, and all of a sudden he loses all of his money. Like, he's frauded by some scammer, and he has some problems that he needs to go through. Again, this Chinese woman is very, very wealthy. They got this expensive wedding coming up. Problems there. So that's the third relationship. The fourth one is between a Paralympic national snowboarding team member named Raewon, played by Yoo Tae-oh, and his girlfriend, who seems like she's living a very casual, laid-back life as a kind of a gardener, or she just raises plants. His girlfriend's name is Owol, played by Sooyoung. So when Raewon is thinking about really taking his career to the next level, he hires an agency to try and promote him, do some stories on him, to just try to get some more like ad deals and just like elevate his status. And so he kind of has a little conflict with his girlfriend because she doesn't want him really to go that route, doesn't want him to be fake or phony, and doesn't need to be rich. So a little bit of a conflict there. So one thing that you can note there is he actually gets some physical therapy from the physical therapist that got the protection from the policeman. That's their connection. And as he snowboards at a ski resort is where the character Gina, who's now in Argentina, she worked part-time at. So that's her connection there. And of course, Yong-chan, the travel agent, probably booked Gina to go to Argentina, as well as Yong-chan, after he gets frauded, he makes his report at the police station where Jiho works. So he's kind of working that case as well. So slight connections between everybody, but nobody really knows each other on a personal level. So it really is four unique narratives kind of flowing together in an interesting connection. So that's really the story of this one. So you're gonna really, if you enjoy this, you gotta really like some of these characters and just sit back, relax, and be entertained. I think that's really the point of this one. But overall, it does kind of feel like a highlight reel type of movie, because even the stuff that happens in Korea, they go to all the famous landmark, like tourist sites. So they really make this like a trip, kind of an advertisement of Korea type movie, which is cool because I think that's how Korean film is developing these days. Really is expanding to many territories, and I think Korean film is doing the smart thing by showing the world what Korea has to offer. So this is kind of one of those movies. And I think even though the characters are written fairly thinly and you're gonna probably predict everything that happens in this one, it's enjoyable, and it's one that really, it's just kind of a long movie. I think it was around 2 hours. It kind of went by pretty fast. The stuff in Argentina was awesome to see, but again, they They shoot naturally beautiful things, so you're gonna be like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. But I personally prefer films that make beautiful images out of the otherwise, unusual, or you take an ordinary thing and make it beautiful. So that's kind of the thing that I'm looking for like really a new experience. Of course, beautiful is beautiful. So it's got awesome cityscapes and all that good stuff. So another thing with Korea and expanding into other markets and just getting more global attention, this movie actually speaks a number of languages. I guess kind of like Deliver Us from Evil, even the recent Space Sweepers. We've got kind of a global feeling going on in this movie. There's Korean spoken, some English, Spanish, some German, and Chinese. So all of those languages are spoken. There's a huge, obvious on-location, different vibe when it's in the Buenos Aires section of the film, the Argentina section of the film. So I really like how Korean film is kind of going in this direction, although, part of my old self of loving Korean cinema in the first place was just how Korean it was. I missed that as well, like the really unique Korean stuff. But I think there will be those films still moving forward, and this is kind of a new style of film. So it's exciting to see. But like I said, this is a very lighthearted movie overall. It never gets too serious, but there are some moments of some genuine emotion that I felt. And one scene in particular between the actress Yeom Hye-ran, which was Young Chan's older sister, and his Chinese fiance, and it's when they're sitting at this table together, and Young Chan's older sister, she's kind of a wreck. Like, she's so nervous, she doesn't really know how to act comfortably around this Chinese woman, and she's got this recorder set up from an app that's going to translate everything. Of course, it doesn't go well, everything's confusing, and they really just have to communicate. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we're not going to use this thing, and they communicate just in their native languages, and they find this moment of real pure connection, even though they don't understand each other, but they understand each other. And it was moments like that that made me like really appreciate the movie for at least offering some of those moments. So again, if you guys like multi-narrative love story, this one's got a lot of kind of poppy, Christmassy music. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. I think it was a kind of an average to above average film. So overall, New Year Blues, a great way to spend some time. And if you like these actors, I think you're gonna be in for a treat. So I want to rate this one a 6.5 out of 10. Nothing super new, super exciting, but overall, I had some generally positive emotions coming out of this movie. So I think if you guys are looking forward to this, you're going to be pleasantly happy with it. So thanks so much for watching. Please let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns in the comments below. As always, if you like this stuff, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Tyler here at The Movie Beat. Keep watching movies.